At first, no one believed it would ever reach this point. When Claressa Shields' name began trending again, most people assumed it had something to do with boxing, another accolade, another record, another reminder that she had already done what so many once claimed was impossible. Shields had made a career out of defying expectations, rewriting history, and refusing to shrink herself for anyone. So when her name surfaced across timelines once more, the assumption felt natural. But this time, the energy was different. There was no celebratory tone. No highlight clips, no victory laps. Instead, there was tension, the quiet kind that simmers beneath the surface before finally boiling over. The kind that builds not in a single moment, but across weeks of pressure, misinterpretation, and unspoken frustration. And long before Claressa said a word, fans sensed it. The changes were subtle at first. Her tone in interviews shifted. The sharp humor she once used to brush off uncomfortable questions faded. The confidence remained, but it hardened. Her social media, once loud and triumphant, grew quieter, more guarded, more deliberate. Something was weighing on her, and it wasn't just internet noise. It was personal. At the same time, another name began drifting into the conversation, one that didn't seem to belong there at first. Remy Ma. Initially, it surfaced through speculation alone. Fans drawing connections that weren't explicitly stated. Old narratives about loyalty and alignment resurfacing without confirmation. Comments appeared saying things like, "You already know where Remy stands," or "This is deeper than what they're saying." Nothing was direct, nothing was verified. But in the ecosystem of celebrity culture, perception often carries the same weight as fact. Claressa watched it all unfold. In real time, every tweet, every blog post, every comment dissecting her silence and turning it into meaning she never assigned. She didn't rush online to defend herself. She didn't clap back immediately, and that restraint confused people. Some interpreted it as maturity, others as weakness. And the longer she stayed quiet, the louder the speculation became. What most people didn't see was the pressure building behind the scenes. Claressa Shields isn't just a public figure, she's a competitor. She's trained to fight opponents face to face, not shadows behind usernames. She's used to fairness, rules, and accountability. This situation felt like none of those things. It felt like being cornered without gloves, attacked without a clear opponent, judged without evidence. As Remy Ma's name continued to trend alongside hers, the speculation sharpened. Fans framed the situation as if sides had already been chosen. Loyalty was questioned. Respect was debated. Old interviews were unearthed, clipped, reposted, and reinterpreted through a modern lens. Words spoken years earlier were suddenly treated as proof of present-day intent. That's when the emotional weight shifted. This stopped being gossip and started feeling like a character trial. And for someone who had spent her entire life fighting for respect, not just as an athlete, but as a woman navigating male-dominated spaces, that cut deeply. The moment Claressa finally snapped didn't come out of nowhere. It came after weeks of build-up. After reading comments questioning her integrity. After watching her name get attached to narratives she never agreed to. After realizing that her silence wasn't protecting her, it was being weaponized against her. And when she finally spoke, it didn't sound rehearsed. It didn't sound polished. It sounded raw. Her words came fast, direct, emotional. No filters, no softened edges. You could hear the frustration beneath the anger, the exhaustion beneath the strength. This wasn't someone chasing virality. This was someone who felt pushed past her breaking point. When Remy Ma's name came up, it felt like a line had been crossed, one that couldn't be uncrossed. Fans were stunned, not because Claressa spoke, but because of how she did it. There was no media training in that moment. No carefully structured statement. It didn't feel planned, and that's exactly why it landed so hard. Her voice carried weight. You could hear the restraint finally slipping, the emotional dam giving way. It wasn't a performance. It was released. Within minutes, clips of her response flooded social media, reposted, slowed down, analyzed frame by frame. Fans listened closely, not just to what she said, but how she said it. Every pause felt intentional, even if it wasn't. Every shift in tone sparked debate. Some focused on specific lines, pulling them apart word by word, searching for hidden meaning. Others ignored the words altogether and locked onto the emotion, the tightness in her voice, the tension beneath her composure. What stood out most was that she didn't sound like someone trying to control a narrative. She sounded like someone tired of being misunderstood. The authenticity made people stop scrolling. The conversation shifted instantly. This wasn't just gossip anymore. It became a discussion about emotional truth, about what happens when someone stays quiet too long and finally decides to speak. Not to explain themselves, but to reclaim their voice. That's why the moment stuck. Public opinion split almost immediately. One side rallied firmly behind Claressa, arguing she had every right to defend herself. Supporters pointed out that she had been dragged into a situation she never asked to be part of, yet was expected to carry the emotional burden silently. They spoke about how women in the public eye are often held to impossible standards, expected to be calm, composed, and graceful no matter how intense the pressure becomes. They reminded critics that strength is frequently mistaken for silence, that choosing not to react is praised, but reacting with emotion is punished, even when that emotion is justified. Breaking points don't arrive without warning. They arrive after sustained pressure, judgment, and emotional exhaustion. To them, Claressa's response wasn't aggression. It was self-preservation. Others disagreed. Critics argued that while her feelings may have been valid, the delivery crossed a line. They said the tone escalated the situation rather than diffused it. To this group, the issue wasn't the emotion itself, but how publicly and forcefully it was expressed. Once again, the conversation drifted from context to character judgment. What made the moment so polarizing was its honesty. Emotional expression doesn't always come neatly packaged. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's messy, and sometimes it makes people uncomfortable precisely because it feels real. Remy Ma's fans in particular didn't take it lightly. Comment sections turned hostile. Hashtags began circulating. Suddenly, this wasn't just about Claressa anymore, it became a broader loyalty war fueled by speculation. And then there was Remy Ma's silence. She didn't clap back. She didn't go live. She didn't issue a statement. And in celebrity culture, silence is never neutral. Fans filled the gaps themselves. Some believed she was taking the high road. Others thought she was letting Claressa expose herself. Still, others suspected private conversations were happening behind closed doors. Every hour without a response added fuel to the fire. Meanwhile, Claressa's emotional state became harder to ignore. In later appearances, her energy felt drained. Anger gave way to exhaustion. The confidence remained, but it was layered with hurt. This no longer looked like someone enjoying attention. It looked like someone overwhelmed by it. People began asking uncomfortable questions. Why did this situation hit her so deeply? Why now? Why did Remy Ma's name trigger such a reaction? The answers weren't simple. They lived in layers of history. Pride, loyalty, and boundaries the public only sees fragments of. As days passed, industry whispers surfaced. Quiet side-taking, private outreach, subtle distancing. The tone shifted from drama to damage control. Everyone involved understood this. It wasn't just a viral moment, it was a turning point. Could it have been handled differently? Maybe. Could silence have worked longer? Possibly, but unexpressed emotion doesn't disappear, it accumulates. And when it finally surfaces, it rarely does so gently. That's what made this moment so uncomfortable to watch. It wasn't entertaining. Drama. It was a real breaking point playing out under an unforgiving spotlight. Even critics had to acknowledge something genuine had cracked open. Now the question isn't who was right or wrong. It's what happens next. Does Claressa step back and let things cool? Does Remy respond? Do conversations happen privately, or has the damage gone too far? One thing is certain, fans won't forget this moment easily. Because it wasn't just